Michael Bever is charged with 5 counts of murder for the crime that happened inside their home in 2015.
Craig Price is a violent individual. He's a very violent individual.
Brace yourselves as we delve into the haunting realm of crime, where age is not a barrier. A lineup that proves evil can lurk even in the most unexpected places, in the most unexpected forms. Here are the top 10 youngest serial killers in history.
Born on January 22, 1980, Eric Smith became infamous after committing a horrifying crime at just 13 years old. In 1993, in Steuben County, New York, Smith murdered 4-year-old Derek Roby in a secluded wooded area near a summer camp. The brutality of the attack shocked the community and raised difficult questions about whether a child could truly understand the gravity of such actions. After a massive investigation, Smith quickly became the prime suspect and eventually confessed. Because of the severity of the crime, he was tried as an adult and convicted of second-degree murder. He received a sentence of 9 years to life in prison and was later released on parole after serving 28 years. His case remains one of the most controversial examples of juvenile violence in American history. Known as the Warwick Slasher, Craig Price became one of the youngest serial killers in U.S. history. Born in 1973, Price displayed violent behavior from an early age, including animal cruelty and aggression. At just 13 years old, he began a terrifying killing spree in Warwick, Rhode Island. His victims included Rebecca Spencer, Joan Heaton, Jennifer Heaton, Melissa Heaton. The crimes were exceptionally brutal, leaving the community terrified. Price was eventually arrested in 1989 after witnesses provided information to police. Although initially sentenced as a juvenile, his continued violent behavior in custody led to harsher punishment. He remains incarcerated today. Michael Hernandez was born in Miami, Florida, in 1988. Despite appearing intelligent and academically gifted, he secretly developed an obsession with serial killers and violent fantasies. In 2004, at the age of 14, Hernandez lured his classmate Jamie Goff into a school bathroom stall and fatally stabbed him. Investigators later discovered disturbing journals filled with violent drawings and writings. Prosecutors argued the attack was carefully planned, and Hernandez was ultimately tried as an adult. In 2008, he was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Hernandez died in prison in 2021 at the age of 31. James Fairweather, often called the Colchester Killer, became one of the youngest convicted serial killers in the United Kingdom. At just 15 years old, Fairweather murdered James Atfield, Nahid El-Mania. Both attacks took place in Colchester, Essex, in 2014. The victims were randomly targeted and repeatedly stabbed. Fairweather was eventually caught after boasting about the murders to a friend, who informed authorities. During questioning, he claimed he heard voices telling him to kill. In 2015, he was sentenced to at least 27 years in prison. Edmund Kemper, famously known as the Co-Ed Killer, is one of the most studied serial killers in criminal psychology. Born in 1948, Kemper showed disturbing behavior during childhood, including violent fantasies and cruelty toward animals. At age 15, he murdered both of his grandparents simply to see what it felt like. After being released from a mental institution years later, he went on to murder multiple young women in California during the early 1970s. His crimes eventually escalated to the murder of his own mother. Kemper later confessed to police and was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole because of his intelligence and willingness to speak with investigators. Kemper became a major subject in criminal profiling research. Alyssa Bustamante shocked the United States after murdering her 9-year-old neighbor, Elizabeth Olton, in Missouri in 2009. Bustamante was only 15 years old at the time. She lured the young girl into the woods, strangled her, stabbed her, and buried her body in a shallow grave. During the investigation, authorities discovered disturbing journal entries in which Bustamante described the killing. Her troubled childhood, depression, and self-harm history became major topics during the trial. In 2012, she pleaded guilty and received a life sentence with the possibility of parole. T.J. Lane became infamous after carrying out the 2012 school shooting at Chardon High School in Ohio. At 17 years old, Lane entered the school cafeteria armed with a handgun and opened fire on students during breakfast. 3 students were killed. Daniel Parmenter, Demetrius Hewlin, Russell King Jr. Lane showed little remorse during court proceedings and even mocked victims' families. In 2013, he was sentenced to life in prison without parole. The tragedy reignited nationwide debates about school safety, mental health, and gun violence. On January 29, 1979, 16-year-old Brenda Spencer opened fire on Grover Cleveland Elementary School in San Diego, California, from her home across the street. Armed with a rifle, she killed Principal Burton Ragg, custodian Mike Sucher. She also injured several students and staff members. When asked why she committed the attack, Spencer chillingly replied, "I don't like Mondays." The phrase became infamous worldwide. Spencer was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison and remains incarcerated. In 2015, brothers Robert and Michael Bever carried out a horrifying attack against their own family in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Using knives and a hatchet, they murdered their parents, David and April Bever, their siblings Daniel and Victoria Bever. 2 younger siblings survived despite severe injuries. Investigators revealed the brothers had long been obsessed with mass murder and serial killers. During interrogation, disturbing details emerged about how they manipulated family members during the attack. Both brothers were tried as adults and sentenced to multiple life sentences without parole. Nathaniel Brazel became nationally known after fatally shooting his middle school teacher, Barry Grunow, in Lake Worth, Florida. In 2000, Brazel was only 13 years old when he brought a stolen handgun to school and confronted his teacher in a classroom. The case sparked major discussions about school violence and firearm access among minors. Although his defense argued the shooting was accidental, prosecutors claimed he intentionally brought the weapon to school. In 2001, Brazel was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 28 years in prison. He is scheduled for release in 2028.